So Kevin, can you please describe the organisation that you work for and the role that you play here?
Sure. My name is Kevin Lacey and I'm the Atlantic Canada Director with a group called the Canadian Taxpayers Federation. We have close to 80,000 supporters across Canada, and what we're dedicated to doing is finding waste in government, fighting for lower taxes and more accountable government. But one of the key things we like to do is look at government projects to try to find where money was spent by taxpayers' money and how could it be done better and cheaper.
Wonderful, important work. And so my next question is, you're concerned about ensuring that taxpayers get value for money. How do you do that? What are the main things you do to do that?
Well, one of the things we do is we try to get to the heart of how money is spent. So we use things like the Freedom of Information Act to look at how money was spent. We also compare one project to projects in other places to see comparables of how one project in one area would compare to another project in another, and also in many cases just common sense, because we see that government sets a certain budget and lo and behold months later it's far and above that. So we really use those types of markers to try to decide what's of value and what's of not. And for us, what we try to do is also pick projects that we can see bring about change. So if we're going to expose something wasteful, the government can actually do something to make it better on people.
So we're going to talk today about the Bluenose 2 restoration project. You know, a wonderful project, a Canadian icon, the Bluenose 2. But it has received a bit of attention because that project seems to have had a few difficulties. Can you describe what that project was designed to achieve?
Sure. So the original Bluenose is a Canadian icon, as you mentioned. It was initially built as a fishing schooner that would go from the port of Lunenburg to the fishing grounds and back again. Now, one of the things that made the Bluenose so unique is that it had to be very fast, because in those days there was not refrigeration for fishing, and so as a result you needed a boat that could get there and back and still keep the catch as fresh as possible. The fresher the catch, the higher the price. Now the Bluenose was designed as a Nova Scotian vessel here by William Ruy. It was built with Nova Scotian materials and with Nova Scotia shipbuilding ingenuity. It was the fastest fishing schooner of its kind. It won over 30 races and really became a provincial symbol of what was so good about our province. The original Bluenose fell on some hard financial times. It was later shipwrecked down in the Caribbean, and a second Bluenose was built by the Olin family, who runs Olin's Brewery here in the province of Nova Scotia. Anyone who visited will likely know about that. That vessel carried on until the 1990s and the early 2000s, until she was just too old and eventually had to be put out of service, and a new refurbished vessel, which is what the one we're talking about today, a brand new Bluenose that was built generally on the design of the original, that would perform and do the same things, but also act as a sailing ambassador for the province. So it would promote the province, promote our history, and also do things like tourism and things like that to help tell the story of what was so good about Nova Scotia.
Okay, so what prompted you to investigate the project, and how did you do that? What did you do to investigate the Bluenose?
So we came a little late to the game with the project around September 2013. What had happened at that point was it was obvious the project was in some deep trouble. It was already years late. It was the minister responsible for the project was indicating it was millions over budget, but could not say how many millions it was. And it caused us to take a look at this to find out where some of the wasted expenditures were, and find out how it was that a project that was supposed to be built so quickly is now so late. The original project was built, the original Bluenose was built in about 90 days, about 3 months. We were already years over that to build this one. The original cost in today's terms about $500,000 or so, and this one was originally set at about $14.8 million. We now think it might be around 25 million when it's all said and done. So it's really the time that it took, that it was so far late, and the money, that it was so far over budget for why it was, and nobody really knew why it was either one of these things.
So what did your investigation discover? You described a little bit about that, but
yeah. So really, I think for us, two big things. The first is that the project management of the vessel was broken. There was communications breakdowns, but more importantly, the project managers themselves were millions over budget. We found that originally the contract was for just a few $100,000. By the time September 2013 had rolled around and these problems were beginning to be exposed, the project managers themselves were millions over, was $1 million over what their original budget would be. Then we also found troubles with the contract. So the very high markups on some of the things that the shipbuilder had to do over and above what the contract stipulated, and that the government in some cases didn't follow the contract that it set up originally to protect taxpayers. So for example, the contract said that the province should not take ownership of the vessel. When you build a vessel like this, the ownership is with the builder until the province makes a decision to take ownership of it. It was not supposed to take ownership until it received the proper paperwork that approved it to actually sail. The province here took it anyway, and still at the time of this taping it had not received its paperwork from either Transport Canada or the American Bureau of Shipping that indicated that it can actually sail and do the job it was supposed to do. So as long as that it still fails to get that, she can't actually sail. So right now, or as of 4 years into the project, we have a vessel that can't sail, that is not approved, and is millions over budget and late.
So what did you do with these results, and what happened after that, after your investigation?
So what we did was we, through the Freedom of Information Act, we asked for all the contracts and the bills for all the things that were spent. So so anything the project managers had billed through that experience, we received a copy of that. All of the way the contract was structured and the reporting process was all made public. What we did was we took those and we made them all public. And so there was reporting in our newspapers, our television news, with regards to these activities. We called for the introduction, to have the Auditor General of our province investigate that. The Premier of the province initially rebuffed the suggestion, and after 2 weeks he eventually recanted, and there will be an Auditor General's investigation sometime in February 2015.
Okay, so your investigation was successful, it would seem, to that degree. You got the Auditor General involved. What's happening now with the project?
So now the project still needs to be approved. Before the vessel can be used for anything, it has to be received certification from a certification agency, which is the American Bureau of Shipping, and it has to receive a license from the Department of Transportation to indicate that she's safe to sail on. Up until now, she's failed all of her tests to get either one of those licenses. So we're in a holding pattern until the time where she can actually receive those permissions. We expect she'll get them sometime in February or March of this year, and likely she'll be sailing, though many years late, this summer.
Okay, so some of the students who are watching this video will work on projects that are funded by taxpayers at some point in the future. Do you have any advice for them on how they can do that effectively?
Yeah, look, I think with government projects, a lot of companies and a lot of individuals view government projects as like the lottery because they are very safe. Government largely pays on time. However, the two things to watch for is there's also a lot of bureaucracy with a lot of these projects, but most importantly, a lot of scrutiny on it. And when projects go awry, groups like myself or journalists or others can be counted on that they will go through all this material and likely make public. In this case, there's the Auditor General is investigating the Bluenose, but also investigating those who are part of it. The project managers, the builders, the designers are all lumped into all the problems that this project has brought on.
Thank you very much for talking to me, Kevin. It's an interesting project and one that hopefully will have a successful outcome.
Thank you.